from what I remembered from the Xbox 360 back in 2012, and 2012 is my favorite year of the decade, is that there was Spider-Man 1 game, you had Happy Wars, you had Minecraft Xbox 360 edition, etc. And these games played as a kid were really, really great games, and still is quite good games now. Like, not so great how you've seen it before, but when you think about it, it was actually pretty good, to have within your childhood, that you could have fun, interact with other people, like playing all these games. And it's like when I see Amazing Spider-Man 1 on the Xbox 360, which is one of my favorite games, as well as Minecraft, right? But focusing on Amazing Spider-Man 1, which not much people really talks about, is that's and I mentioned this quite sometimes, that like the robots in that game were phenomenal, like amazing design. Like, it actually felt like the game felt like it was evolving technology. Like, it felt like technology was also part of why the game was pretty great, where you had flying robots, you had robots that kind of crawl like spiders, made by Oscorp. I can't remember what the guy. Oh yeah, Alistair Smythe, and this guy was a big. He was a big tech guy, tech boss, where he would navigate Peter across the labs, seeing Scorpion, Iguana. Now, Iguana was quite underrated as well. Like, Iguana is big monster, like a rat, right? Like the rat is actually there's a rat in the game, by the way. There's a rat boss in the game. Iguana is just a of a lizard, but the real lizard is like sometime at close to the end of the game, where what you call it, uh and the story of the game was also part of why it was so great. Like, you had Gwen Stacy, you had Kurt Connors, where Kurt Connors would do these lab experiments on different things, trying to cure the infected, right? The game was also an infection game, kind of like the pandemic that we just got early on, but worse. Everybody had to mask up, line up in these small white camps where there's doctors in there. They would inject them with vaccines, curable, like curing the infection, like actually though. And the way how, like, the game was apocalyptic, where there was not really much things to do in the game when you look back on it, but it was pretty dark as well. It was pretty quite scary when you just look at like how Spider-Man can easily be brutally beaten down and lasered, crushed, or straight up like being destroyed by Alistair Smythe, where he has this big robot with guns, and straight up like somewhere near to the end of the game, where Spider-Man is now in this like huge like base where there's a huge monster within, on like underneath, like huge robot monster, where it can fly. Jungle Shadow. Now, Jungle Shadow is going to be an action adventure game, 2D pixel art side scroller. I'm actually thinking about releasing it this year, maybe, most likely. And I just wanted to like get into indie games development, as that's also what I wanted to do. and also do some videos on top of that. But just gonna showcase this game here, and there's some screenshots on the screen there. Beautiful, right? Like has buffy big trees, jungle trees. There's a spotlight there as well that's going onto the rock and the stone there. And the pixel art, it took me a while. I so far have like 2 months of experience, and it's going pretty well. Like, I actually found it quite easier and faster, at least for me, to like do all the tile sets, like the grass, which is like the platforms you see, the plants. It can crawl, and the arms of it is so huge, like a crab, that I don't think Spider-Man would survive this one, and he would just swing away like there's no tomorrow. Also, you had bosses. There was like six bosses in the game, or maybe seven. Where in the first boss you fight Rhino, and Rhino is really heavy, bulky guy, and you Spider-Man straight up lifts him up like crazy and swings him down the pavement. I'm like, how Spider-Man swing him all the way up? And but that's how strong Spider-Man is. Where like all this like the weights, and he didn't had shadows on him. Like Rhino didn't had any sh- shadows much really. That was just the graphics then too. But this Rhino looked quite menacing than the one in Marvel Spider-Man 1. And it was more like cross species. So you had that, and I thought that this game was a more like interesting dark version of Spider-Man. I didn't like on how Marvel Spider-Man 1 was a little bit more like goofier, kind of like yeah, kind of like goofier a little bit. But overall I found it to be a great game. Now with Happy Wars, you also had the multiplayer aspect of it. I think the multiplayer aspect and skirmish and such was pretty great as well. I think it was also a really, really great game where it was basically Castle Crusaders, but it was mixed with a more kiddish, like 2D, like, and it was like, I don't know if like what the game was trying to do, where it was mixing anime and turn it into like Animal Crossing, and then mix it with Castle Crusaders or something like that. But interesting idea as well on that. The customization on that game was really, really great. Where you had bow armor, spiky hats, goofy hats, and everything in that. And the customization was also one part that showed more. It was expressed personality, which was great, awesome. And that's where I'm gonna leave it off there, guys. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed.